Thanks for tuning in to Curious Cat, where we examine the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. I'm your host, Jennifer Hodes. Join me every week as I explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit. Welcome to Curious Cat. So this week we have a very special guest, Leslie Fear. She's the one-woman show behind the sensational podcast Because I Want to Know. She's also a paranormal romance author, a gorgeous grandma, and much more, so much more. Welcome to the show, Leslie. How are you today?
I am great. Hello, Jennifer. It's so nice to be on your show.
Oh, it's so nice to have you here. I really do. I will get into your show because I really am a fangirl of your show. That's how I found you originally. And then when I found out we had a friend in common with Karen Runtowski,
Yes.
I was like, you've got to come on Curious Cat.
I know. I love Karen. I tell you, I've had her on my show a few times now. So and I've been on her show. So it's so much fun. She's so funny. And
she is.
Yeah, she's great.
She is great. And she's a conduit. I feel like my friend Monique, have you had Monique Poliakis on your show?
I had Monique on my show. Yes. She read tarot for me. Yes.
She is a dear friend. She's become a dear friend of mine. And we're like, Karen is a conduit that brings all these amazing people together. So
I know.
I love her. Okay, so I have to go. Let's go straight into your fiction writing first, because you were an author long before you were a podcaster. So How about we begin with your fiction writing and tell us first about your books?
Okay, my books are paranormal romance. I have to have the paranormal element, I think, in all of my books because that's just the way I roll. Always been interested in it. So that kind of gives you a backdrop of that. I wrote all through high school and college just for fun for myself and was an English major, or actually English minor. I was a voice major for music first, but I just loved writing and I would write reviews. I started a blog. It was like the indie bookshelf blog, and we would host author signings. And we had Colleen Hoover, and we had because I knew all these people way when they were not who they are now. And I'm friends with Colleen. I don't know if you know that, but she lives in Texas. Yeah. And all the other people that are not as big as her, but pretty big, And so when I started writing, I wrote with another paranormal romance author, and she took me under her wing and kind of taught me the ropes on the fiction part of writing. Cause I wrote fiction, but not in the way that she did. And I was so impressed with her writing, and she kicked my butt. I'm going to tell you right now, you got to have thick skin when you write with somebody as good as she is, because she would just say, nope, do this over,
Yeah.
And but you know what? She made me a really good writer. And I started with Atticus. That was my first solo. And then I just went on to Graveyard Watchman, which it's also a trilogy. That's a whole different topic. And then I wrote a couple for Lady Boss Press. I don't know if you know who that is. That's with
No.
Kristen Proby. She's a pretty big author. She had other authors write for her in her series. Like they're like secondary. They're like sister books to her characters, and then you would write with her characters as secondary characters, and your characters were the main ones, but it would keep her characters in your book, if that makes sense.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It was fun, and we loved it, and I did that for a couple of years, and then I got into podcasting. So, and I know you still want to talk about the writing, but that's kind of the gist of it. I've written about 9 books total, two of which were with the other author at the beginning. And some of them are just not available yet because I'm rebranding them. Like I've already written them, they've been out, but I'm rebranding them. But there are 5 total of my own that are available now on Amazon. Yeah.
you talked about, I mean, first of all, as an author to an author, what a gift though, even though it's like a smackdown to have this veteran, amazing writer take you under her wing, because like writing is really difficult. I mean, how many people as an author come up to us and go, I'm writing a book, and then
I
it
know.
never really happens,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's really hard to birth that baby. My God. So to have somebody take you under their wing, they're forcing you to go through the entire process. And then okay, this is tangible. I can do this on my own. But what does your writing process look like? Are you like a planner with all these like outlines, or are you a pantser where you're just going by the seat of your pants just generally?
I bet you can guess I'm a pantser all the way.
Me too.
Are you
That's how I am too. Yes.
I would picture you as that because you're so organized with your very professional, the way you do your podcast. And I'm like,
Thank
I
you.
just come on and you're like, here's a list. And I'm like, you want to come on my show? We're just going to talk. We're just going to chat. I got a couple questions. But no, that's how I write. And it's funny because I mean, I have an outline. I'm not going to lie. I have somewhat of an outline. You have to have your characters and know what your characters look like. So you have to keep that consistent. You have to have the date and all that consistent. You have to have the seasons and all that consistent if it goes through a season or whatever it is that you're writing about. Some of that stuff you can't pants because you got to keep track of that. But for the most part, it's almost like I'm channeling it. And I know that sounds really crazy.
No, not at all.
Because
that's what's crazy is that's my next question.
Oh, really? Because when I wrote Graveyard Watchman, the very first book, I wrote it on Wattpad. Do you know what Wattpad is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a manuscript on Wattpad that has like 250,000 reads that I didn't even know it did.
Oh, yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah. So most people don't know about Wattpad, but it's such an author thing. Okay. So wait a second. So you had it on Wattpad first where you were kind of just adding chapters to it?
This is what I was doing. Yes. This is what I So I wrote Atticus, and then I was like, I just kind of want to keep up the practice. And what Wattpad does for everyone, if you happen to be a reader or a writer, it is for readers and writers. Writers go on and they can just, like Colleen Hoover, she wrote a book on there for free. She just wrote it on there. And I took that cue from her and I was like, I can just write a book, and I'm pretty good at keeping it clean. I'm not an editor, but you know what I mean? You can keep it clean.
I do.
And all that.
Yeah.
And so I would challenge myself every single morning. I'd wake up and write 500 words every single day.
Wow.
So when you are posting that often, your book becomes a book and a story and all that, right? Plus it also bumps you up in the algorithm, which I didn't realize because I wasn't doing it I've got almost 1 million views on this book. And,
wow.
and they featured me and everything. And they were wanting to sign me on some book places. But anyway, I didn't do that because I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. I wanted to keep my stuff to myself for the time. I do this because I love it. I don't do it for the money. I know that sounds, yeah. I have friends who, like Jen Sterling, who is one of my best friends. She's just a doll, but she does this for a living because she's dang good at it. Mm-hmm. And she markets herself and she pays for ads. And I'm like, no, I'm not that technical. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah. But I just literally wrote 500 words every day, and boom, I had a book, and it got a lot of recognition. And like I said, it's about angels and demons. And that's what it's about. And and it's like, oh, I didn't know he was going to die today. And literally that's how it would come up. And it's, you don't expect it. In fact, I write in first person present tense. You don't know until the character finds out. I didn't even know it was going to happen.
Isn't it shocking as an author? You're like, like you were saying, I did not see that coming today.
Yeah, I know.
But yet,
go ahead.
With pantsing, you're going through exactly how, not the way that you as a mama bear want to guard them, but as the story, as the characters actually going out there and living that timeline that you created.
Right. Yeah.
It can be painful.
Oh, well, and that's the thing. But I made it to where I didn't put more pressure on myself. And I think that's why it did so well, because I was like, I may have skipped a day, but almost every single day I wrote 500 words. And if I didn't write 500, I wrote up to. Sometimes it was 350, sometimes it was 600. It just depended on the day. And I had so much fun with that book. So much fun with that book. And I think and it came through, I think, in the writing. Because when I used to write reviews, my friends were like, "Why aren't you writing? You're really good at review writing." And I was like, "I don't know. I used to write when I was in college and all that." And so that kind of got me started. But then I was trying to find books that I wanted to read, and I wasn't finding books that I wanted to read. There was nothing out there specifically that I wanted to read. Because if I start reading a book and I know what's going to happen in the first 3 chapters, I'm bored with it, and I do not finish. It's a DNF for me. And I don't want that. I don't want to know what's happening. It's like on Netflix. I don't want to see the preview. I can read it. I hate that. I hate it when it goes in the I can't stand that. And and because it gives the whole movie away. Don't do that. I don't even give my synopsis away on the back of the book. I try not to.
Ooh. Yeah. Just enough to be like enticing, but not enough to give away anything. Well, that's literally my husband and I's joke. We're like, we'll see the Netflix preview and go, okay, what's even the point of...
I know, you see the whole movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. It's like you've just ruined it for me.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, well, I was going to say, so you were like really doing what they tell writers to do. You were writing daily. But were there times that you had writer's block? And if so, like, what did that look like? And what did you do about that?
Writer's block just wasn't a thing for me. It may not be, the flow may not have been as high as far as word count one day than the other. But I have such an imagination, and it never occurred to me that I wouldn't have a story that morning to go with the story I already had. I don't know what it was. It was just, I think, and even on the other 2 books that I wrote, never writer's block. Did I take breaks? Yes. Not because I was blocked, just because I got burnt out. And I will go in full force and just love it so much. It's like playing a song over and over. And after a while, you're like, oh my God, I'm so sick of this. I want to spit. And that's kind of where I was getting to.
That's a perfect analogy too, because it really does feel like that. And then also when you're doing like a trilogy or whatever, you have to be so hyper focused by that, especially the 3rd book, because you have to look at it through the eyes. Even pantsers, we're like, we have fans out there that know every little detail of every little book leading up to that. So they're going to catch the littlest thing. So you have to be your own super fan. And when you're done with that trilogy, you're like, okay, bye-bye. I don't even want to think about you.
Yeah, exactly. And with any book, even if it's a solo book, I feel that way about any book. And, and because I don't know if people know this, but it's expensive to write a book.
Yeah, it is.
It's expensive if you do it the right way, because you have to hire an editor, and you do 2 passes with an editor. Then you have to have a proofreader. Then you have to have beta readers. Then you have to get a cover artist. Then you have to get a formatter. Then you have to upload it. And it's just, there's a lot. And I'm not a formatter. I don't pretend to be. I'm not an editor. I don't pretend to be. I can't proof my own work, because I will make with work every single time if it's supposed to be will.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because I know that I know specifically at least a handful of people that are in the throes right now, and they're listening to this and they're writing a book. How do you write your very first draft? Do you do it in a notebook? Do you do it on a computer? What does that look like?
I just start writing. I get an idea in my head, and I write down specifics about a character, like dark hair, dark eyes, what his skin tone is, all of the things that you have to describe, while you're describing someone looking at him. You need to have all the consistency, right? Also the year. Sometimes I don't write in present year. I write in 1992 in Georgia, so you have to, so that's the loose outline that I always do. But as far as writing the meat of the book, I have no idea where it's going to go. I just know what I want the story to be about, and that's it. Because I don't even want to know. I mean, Jennifer, I don't want to know.
I know.
I don't even want to know. Because I'm bored. If I already know, then I'm bored with it, right?
It's exactly true. And it's funny because the only place I felt safe, like working through my first trilogy was, that very first book was in my dream life. And so I'd wake up and I just scribble down what came to me in the dream the next morning. And I just followed that. And then I'd like kind of, walk with my at the time, teenage daughter. We'd walk the neighborhood and I'd tell her, and she would be like, teenagers aren't gonna, the teenage boy isn't going to just like say that. He would not have that observation. So she'd call BS on it. So she was like my unofficial editor. And then it would just go from there. Or,
Good.
And then when it got in the hands of my actual editor, who there's a reason you just absolutely love your editors, right? Because they bring out they just shine it up in this way. And it is painful. They call it killing your babies when you're like scrubbing up that manuscript, but it is painful, but it is a good process, because I always thought about she was like, nope, we can't have this scene, take it out. And then as soon as I took it out, I'd walk and meditate and go, oh, well, that's what had to come forward here.
And that's the thing.
So I agree with you about the channeling, even about the channeling that you said earlier.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to editing, I made sure that my editor and we were not best friends. I didn't know her very well, and I made sure that we didn't know each other very well, because you can't have friends do this. They will not be honest. Do not have a friend edit your books. Don't do it. Proofreading's one thing. Yeah. Proofreading, because they're looking at grammar, they're looking at punctuation. Right. That's different. Editors will kick your butt, and you have to have thick skin, because if you don't have thick skin, you will not be successful. Yeah. If you take everything personally, you have to remember you're paying them to make you better writers. Yeah. So let them do their job. And that's what I let her do. Yeah. Yeah. But as far as channeling, I'm telling you, it's so weird, because I've interviewed so many people, psychic mediums and near-death experiencers, who talk about the council, right? Up in, on the other side, after death. And I didn't know that was a thing when I wrote my Graveyard Watchman series. And in the first book, the main character has to go talk to the council. I had no idea that was a thing. That's what I'm saying. I think I was channeling this.
I think you were, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, what is going on? But in my book, in my mind, because he said this was the holiest place you'll ever be. And she's like, are you going to be punished? And he goes, they don't punish you. And so when I did, and I'm big on dialogue, that is my love. Dialogue is my thing. Okay.
Yeah. Everybody. Oh, and that's the way people like to consume books now, is through dialogue. They want action through dialogue. Yeah. That's so wonderful.
Yeah. And I love dialogue, because I really feel like it comes very naturally to me. So when he was talking to the council, and she went with him, they were a couple by then, and she went with him, and they said, what did you learn? How do you think you could do this better? All the things, right, that maybe source might say to you, or might reveal to you, however that happens on the, after you die. They weren't dead, but I'm just saying on the other side, because they were already angels. They were already there. They were already up in that realm. Right. So yeah, like good fighting evil. And, but he punished himself, and he went to the temple and, fasted for however long. And she's like, you're punishing yourself. And he goes, I have to do this for myself. And they said, that's fine. Whatever you have to do to make yourself feel more, whatever it is. And I can't remember the exact words they said. It's been, 6 years, but all I'm saying is, I think I did. I think I channeled that.
I do too.
And when I started hearing people talk about the council, I was like, wait a minute, I wrote about that in my book.
Yeah. Well, and that goes with the next piece I was going to ask you about, because that's something people don't understand, is that writing is a lonely pursuit. Like, you have to have, I used to be able to have like talk radio on in the background, just have a flow of words behind me. But even that, when I'm putting down a first draft, it is a channeling. You're like receiving a message, and you're having to just go, and you can't have other things like impeding on that. So it's a very lonely pursuit. And most people do not realize that.
You bring up a really good point. I can't go to a coffee shop. I can't have, now I could have just like classical, maybe I did have sometimes that going, like classical music, maybe troubled kind of music, like mysterious-y kind of music going on in the
Ooh.
background
Mm-hmm.
for what I was writing. That did
Mm-hmm.
encourage and kind of inspire me for some things. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love the soundtrack to Hannibal. I know that sounds crazy.
No, it doesn't at all, actually.
Yeah, but I would have
That's
some of that playing because I'm big on music. I have a music. I majored in voice, and I love music. Always have. So soundtracks mean a lot to me. Specifically, those kinds of soundtracks where, whether it's Interstellar, we all have heard that. Before
yeah.
Forrest Gump's soundtrack.
Yes.
Hannibal. Terms of Endearment. All these different kinds of music that is so different but so similar in the way of how it inspires you. And if that's one of the things that helped me, to be honest with you, write the book.
Wow.
Yeah, just low, not high, not nothing loud, just very very distant in the background. And I'm telling you, it was really nice to have that in the background, because especially if it was a fighting scene, like a warrior scene, or when they were
Mm-hmm.
in the council or whatever. So yeah.
Well, and actually, I mean, I didn't even think to ask you about music. I didn't know your background and
Yeah.
your education, but I one of my become my podcast friends, but the skeptic metaphysicians. So Will and his wife do that podcast together, and they had a guest on that was talking about heaven, like real proof of heaven,
Mm-hmm.
this last week, and he was talking about the music was so hyper important
Mm-hmm.
in this next realm when he was having his near death experience. And he was like, they have these different vibrations. It's a language in and of itself without even the words.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes sense. Like when you're talking about Hannibal or something mysterious, it's like giving you that vibration that you're basically channeling at to get your book down. That makes so much
Yeah,
sense.
well, it just is a big help for me. And like I said, some people love the crowded coffee shops, and they love that. My co-author loved going to a coffee shop or loved going to a bar or whatever. I can't. I'm too distracted. It's like right now,
Me too.
Jennifer and I are we have the ability to see each other. I can still see her, but I don't want to look at her right now, because when I interview or if I'm interviewed, I am so distracted when I stare at someone and talk to them, because I'm wondering, why is she flicking her hair? Is she upset with me? No, you're not. But you're wondering if, oh wait, she's taking a drink. Let me hold on. Now my thought's gone. It's just, I don't even want to look at you. So
But it makes
I
so
know.
much sense that you're honoring your process. That's so fantastic. So I have to ask, so you just it seems like a natural segue into your podcast, because being that writing is such a lonely, isolated pursuit,
Mm.
is that isolation what kind of brought you into the realm of a podcast and having a podcast? Is that interacting, talking to other people and getting their experiences and things? I guess I don't want to answer it for you, but what inspired you to have a podcast? And tell us about your podcast.
Well, it's so funny. I have always listened to internet radio, and then it became podcasting. Do you
Mhm.
remember Hay House Radio?
No, I don't, but I was like an Art Bell junkie and,
Oh
coast
yeah,
to
oh
coast.
yeah. Yeah, and it was internet radio. It was Hay House, Louise Hay, Esther
Ooh,
Hicks. I think even the blue collar spiritualist
yeah,
asked you about the Hicks
he did.
married couple, and yeah, they were on there. They had numerologists, they had psychic mediums, all the things, and I love that. Right, so I've
Yeah.
always listened to internet radio, and have always been, after that, when it became more of a podcast situation, always listen to podcasts. And I was listening to Hillbilly Horror Stories, and I love history. That is a thing for me. I absolutely love it, probably more than even music in a way. I mean, it's different, not really.
Yeah.
Do I love it more? But it's just I just adore it. So um, I would listen to them, and they asked for a paranormal story, and I contacted them and told them I had kind of a weird thing that happened to me, and we hit it off. Jerry and his wife and I hit it off, and they wanted me to start contributing to their podcast every week, and it became Fear of the Week, a nameplay on my name.
Ooh. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I love that so
I
much.
know. And Fear really is my real last name. I promise. It's the real last name. That you can't help that. That's just, I was branding
Holy
myself.
smokes.
Yeah. My husband's name is Randy Fear, and that's just what his
Oh,
name was. Isn't that
yeah.
funny?
Isn't that
And
funny?
and so I started doing Fear of the Week, and I would come on for about 10 minutes every week and talk about how long you live after you're beheaded, or a very macabre kind of story. You know, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's something you would maybe never want to know, or maybe you would want to know. But gosh darn it, I'm telling you. So I did that, and then Jerry said, and I was just in the end of writing one of my last books that I just wrote, and he said, you need your own podcast. I'm like, no, I don't. He said, yeah, you don't. I'm like, no, Jerry, no, I'm writing right now. Although I was really getting burnt out on writing. I've been writing for 12
Oh,
years.
interesting. Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to send you a microphone. And I still use the microphone today. It's the same one I use. I know. And he sent me like
That's
this really
cool.
nice mic. I know. And he's like, all you have to do is have a desktop or laptop, whatever you prefer to use. And girl, all I use is a microphone and a speaker I hook up to my phone, and I switch back and forth so that when I'm talking in the background, I'm not interrupting you, but you hear me in the back with my expressions like, what? You know how I do those things.
Yes.
Because I don't want to be so loud, but I want it to be to where you can hear what I'm saying. And then, of course, I bring it up to me. But I, there are so many, when you're a
Yeah.
podcaster, you listen to other people's podcasts and you're like, oh man, I wish I had edited that out, or dang, they shouldn't have done that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and then when I do have someone on my podcast, I edit the crap out of it in the way of taking out as many of the us and the ums and the like, and but still keeping some in, of course. But I make it as smooth as I possibly can. So, like an hour long podcast may take me 5 hours to edit. And I'm not kidding. It might take me longer than that. So it just depends, because I go frame by frame, and I look at every single thing, whether it's volume, whether it's extra words, whether it's whatever it is, whether it's stuff that doesn't even need to be there. I leave it in, take it out, all the things, because I take it very seriously.
I I think that's a nice way to honor your guest. That's how I look at it. It's like
Yes.
they took the time to come on your show. So
Yes.
you want them to shine, and you don't want anything to distract from that conversation that they took time out to have with you. So it's a love and respect thing for me, and I hear it in your podcast. You have this like wide array of guests, and just you name it, and they've been on the show, and I've really loved them. I mean, I found you very early on after my father had passed away, and it was like I was going through this kind of spiritual, I was already very woo, but I didn't even know what that was then.
Right.
But you were one of the safe landing places I found, yours and Paranormal Karen. And I would just love that you were not afraid to go there with your guests. And so I just have to ask, were there, probably 10 people come to mind, but what are some of the guests that you've had that have just blown your mind?
Oh my God.
Changed your perspective?
Mary Helen Hensley, the near-death experiencer. She was my early
Yes.
on. Loved her story. She's been on a couple times. One thing she said to me, and I asked her, I said, what did it feel like when you passed away? I said, did you know you did? And she goes, oh, absolutely. And she said, how it's like is, how you're in the garden all day and you're hot and sweaty and it's 100 degrees out. You come back inside, you're cooling
Yeah.
off, and you take a cool shower, and all those clothes you took off, they're next to the shower. The last thing you want to do is put those clothes back on. She goes, that's how you feel about your body.
That is such a good analogy.
I know. And I was like, chill bumps, so that was,
Yeah.
but she was so fun, and she was so lovely and gracious, but funny. Oh my gosh, hilarious. And then also, probably one of my more recent ones is Preston Dennett, the UFO researcher, who I just had on maybe a couple months ago. And I tell you, he talked about the grays are here, and according to him, and he's researched since the 1985, and he's had encounters. And, at first you're like, really, dude? Seriously? Come on, we all wonder. But he has been heavily vetted. And I put him up there with some of the people, some of the bigger or the more famous people. Who's the guy that I just thought of, and I can't think of his name now, that's got the documentary. Oh my goodness. Bob Lazar. To me,
Yeah.
he's just as credible as Bob Lazar. And he said, "The Greys are here to help. There's nothing to be afraid of. Trust me, if there was something to be afraid of, they would have vanquished us long ago." And
Wow.
yeah, so and then also just, I think every single near-death experiencer I talk to, I'm absolutely fascinated because all of them have completely different stories, but they all have one core thing that they say to me. The other side is more real than here, and
Mhm.
none of them wanted to come back.
Oh my gosh. And that, oh
Mhm.
my God, the NDE guest that you've had on, that was my first deep dive with your podcast. And then I went back and
Mhm.
I listened to all of them in a row. So, and I've noticed that about it. They say it's more vibrant over there. This side is
Mhm.
more murky or like, just more filtered almost even. It's
Yeah,
like the sharpen focus hasn't happened yet.
yeah.
And, it's just, isn't it interesting the differences in, they do have differences and they have similarities because I think there's also that personal effect. The guest that I was talking about that was on Skeptic Metaphysician, he's a neurosurgeon. And so
Mhm.
he hadn't even realized, because a lot of neurosurgeons, and he said he can say this because that's his community, is like they poo-poo near death experience as saying the brain is doing some weird things. It's chemical, it's neurons, they're, traces of, whatever activity.
Mhm.
Well, when he was able to come to from like a week-long coma, he was able to look at his paperwork as a doctor and go, there was no activity happening. There is no
Yes.
explanation. This was actually a real place I went to, more real than here. So I find them very fascinating as well. And I think it's really cool. I
Well,
think it's
it's
really
just
amazing that you're bringing them on.
well, and well, to me, I want to spread awareness because, guys, there's no reason for you to be afraid of dying. The body will
Yeah.
die no matter what we do. We can't stop that. I hope we all live long and lovely lives, but not all of us get to be that lucky. Not all
Yeah.
of us get to die at 100 years old with a beautiful wife or husband next to you, holding hands and notebooking it, to death.
Mhm.
So, the Notebook when they hold hands.
Yes,
But
I'm laughing so hard right now. I'm like,
no,
I don't want to edit out my big loud laugh,
yeah,
but that's so hilarious.
well, well, don't get me wrong, I would love that, but we can't do that. So, but my thing is too, also spreading awareness that we don't ever die. Our
Mhm.
meat sacks die, just like you
Yep.
say in the beginning of
Mhm.
your podcast. You know, our perfect state is, or actually our natural state is with Source, is
Mhm.
with God, Source, whatever you want to call the heavenly being that you worship or don't worship, whatever. And this is not our natural state. And just like Dolores Cannon said, she said, listen, this is a play. We're all in a play and
Mhm.
we're all acting it out and we're all making mistakes or we're all doing great things or we're all learning and evolving. And that's what we're here for. And she said, this is the best show on earth for all the other people, or actually indigenous people from other planets that watch us, because apparently this is the hardest place to come to, from what they say. But they all gain this knowledge, Jennifer. When they all go to the other side, it's like all of a sudden they are equipped with every single bit of knowledge you can ever have of knowing what it's like to be on the other side, like why the universe is here, how it started, all of those things. You are just a part of it. You don't have to ask questions. You just know it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, it's
then,
fascinating. That's so fascinating. I'm sorry I
yeah,
cut you off because that
no,
is
yeah.
it's so fascinating. And don't you want to download that information too without going through the near death experience?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But when they come back, they don't have it anymore. They don't get to retain it because honestly, our human brains, I just don't think we can process it. There's
Mhm.
too much of it. And also I can't explain away everything. I don't know if Bigfoot's real. I think it's a interdimensional thing. That's what I think. But are we all interdimensional? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how this
Yeah.
all works. It feels
Yeah.
some people think this is a matrix. Some people think this is a computer game. I don't know about that. But listen, you have to open your box up a little bit and say, and that's why I interview so many different people, because even psychic mediums have a completely different way of doing it than other people. But a lot of times they think the same way. Ghosts, I don't know if you understand how I understand ghosts, and I explained it to this last guy, and he said that's exactly how I understand it.
Well, share
Um,
it with us if you feel comfortable. Share it with
yeah,
us.
yeah. I said, because I ask all the psychic mediums or people that kind of go to the other side, and a lot of times they do retain some things, and they said this rings true to them. When people, they think they get stuck here, it's not. Okay, so you and I are a fragment of our higher self. Our higher self is part of God. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
our higher selves
Yeah.
are fragments of God or source. Okay, so we have our
Mm-hmm.
higher self that always stays on the other side. But then our higher self fragments out like God did for us. And we have Jennifer, we have Leslie. Okay.
Yeah.
So Jennifer or Leslie has a trauma, or we have, or we are very fear based on something or whatever it is, that vibration is still, or energy is still in that space. It doesn't go away. It can also gain a conscious. It can also evolve and become aware.
Wow.
And that's how, now some of it's residual that just
Yeah.
happens all the time because maybe, you know, you you were beaten up by a husband, which I hate to say that, but I'm saying that's a
Right.
trauma. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So that energy would stay there. And hopefully I would hate for somebody to go through that that's a residual. I don't think you go over that every single time. But let's say Jennifer passed or Leslie passed, those pieces would still be there. There's other things, but it also has to do with time too. This is so convoluted. It also has to do with time because there's no time on the other side. So I could still be there at another time. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I do. Well, it's interesting, two things, because first of all, the piece about the time, well, you just, the listeners will be able to catch up with all of your episodes, but you have Pete, the blue collar spiritualist, coming on, and he has this, he feels like it was like almost like a download from source that was about time. And basically when we're in the presence of God, or that, like, the highest of the highest self, that
Mm-hmm.
global self, whatever you want to call that. But I'm comfortable calling it God. Then he said, there is no time. It's a construct. And so then when we come back into ourselves, and we will, it's almost like our selves that were, okay. So you're driving in a car. I'm adding this. Pete didn't say this, but you're driving in a
Right.
car and you go, I got the kids to school, but I literally don't remember the driving, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he says when we have a moment where we are in the presence of God, we're actually sharing space with God. There is no time, but ourselves that were there kind of still holding space on earth are like, hey, let me get you up to speed so that you're ready to get back in the meat suit. And they almost go too far, and they'll tell you a couple details, right? Then you get into your meat suit and you go, oh, the dog pooped on the floor. I remember that. I'm having deja vu. Well, that, he said, it's not the significance of the thing that you notice when you come back and it's deja vu, like the dog pooped on the floor, but
Mm-hmm.
it is that notice that there was deja vu, which was a moment when your soul was spending time with God, and there was no time. And I'm like,
Right.
he blew my mind with that.
Yeah,
So
no, yeah, that's crazy. But it's like The Others, that movie, The Others, where
yes.
sometimes I think we're our own ghosts
Yeah,
because I
I
think
think so too.
because of Reiki and all that, if I wanted to go back and hug that little girl that was Leslie, I can go back in time
Yep.
and
You
hug
can.
that little girl that was Leslie, yeah, in my
Yeah.
own mind, and do it, privately, whatever, and you go in your own mind, and this is something anybody can do if you have a something that happened traumatically, and who doesn't, in your childhood. What, maybe you were bullied, maybe that your parents were absentee, maybe they did something horrible to you, maybe a friend, or whatever it is, uncle, maybe it didn't happen and you had a Mayberry life. God bless you for
Yeah.
that.
I
But if
hope
you do,
somebody out there did.
God, I hope more than one, right?
Me
But
too.
I had some trauma when I was younger with my parents, but specifically with my dad. And I know he's God now, but I forgave him. And it's hard to do that because you're thinking, no, you don't know what he did to me. And if I forgive him, he wins. No, he doesn't
Mm-mm.
win. No, he will win, because you know what he'll do? What happens is he kills you. So he still wins. So do you
Yeah.
want to forgive him and make your life better or not? So now I'm like, okay, I go back in my mind and I say, I'm going to go and find Leslie in my mind. I'm thinking about her as a child. I remember how I looked and how I felt, and I'm me now. And I go back and I just go back to her. And I don't know if she ever saw this, or she's, because that's still happening. See, there's no time. So that's still happening. You can, and this is so woo woo. And your,
It
your
isn't.
listeners are like, what are you talking about?
No, they know exactly what you're talking about because I actually have a meditation that I put out there where you go back to your past self and you have
Mm.
angels beside you that are
Yes.
guarding you from that pain. Like they're kind of buffering it. And then you're sitting in that space and you're giving your past self, that younger self, that version of yourself, no matter how you look at it, dimensions or whatever,
Yeah.
multiverse, and you're giving them love. And then the angel helps you to revisit that space and go, it doesn't hurt as much anymore. Or I've offered forgiveness there, or I've given this piece of me. You can even go back to places where you were not your best self and you're like, I was really kind of a jerk face there. And you can go
Mm-hmm.
back and forgive yourself and see, I did the best I could at the time, but I can also smooth out the rough edges there. And it's a powerful thing. We are time travelers. I think I'm certain of it. I mean, our consciousness is like in
Absolutely. And yeah, and if you get that, if you understand that, because then you're thinking, is that what causes the Mandela effect? I mean, it's all those
such a
things
good point.
where you can kind of change things. I mean, Chick-fil-A was always CHIC to me.
I know. I
Curious George always had a tail. What the heck is going on with Curious George? He doesn't have a tail now. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, 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 no. So but it's okay. And Mandela, he died in prison. I'm old enough to remember he died in prison in the 90s. And all of a sudden he's getting out of prison, however many years ago. And I'm like, wait, what? I thought he died. So, and I have people that say, I remember that. I do. And just like my friend Jennifer,
yeah.
Jen Sterling, she, she's like, I remember Chick-fil-A just being CHIC because she's an author. We used to make fun of it saying chic.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my God. It's like the Bernstein Bears thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and if enough people collectively, because I think I have a theory, because we have this big awareness, I'm wondering if, this big, awakening. I'm
Hmm.
wondering if a lot of us are kind of going back and trying to heal ourselves through Reiki or through the meditation you provide or whatever. And it's changing some of the outcomes over other things. I don't know if that's true, but it kind of makes sense.
Well, it sure makes sense. Do you remember those? I don't know why I want to share this, but remember because some of our audience is pretty young. And so they wouldn't even remember videotapes and you could
Yeah.
record over them and you could then erase and re-record. And that's how
Yeah.
we didn't have DVRs. So this is what we did when we wanted to get our soap opera and watch it
Yeah.
in the evenings. And so, but there would be a point where you weren't really erasing it completely, the tape. So you would almost see a ghost image of the past ones because you knew your videotape was past its life, basically.
Absolutely.
But that could be part of this Mandela effect is like we're seeing these little iterations of these past times and
Yes.
echoed in the present time or whatever.
Good
I don't know.
analogy. No, it's a good analogy because it's just funny because no matter what,
Yeah.
it there's so much we can do energetically, like the blue collar spiritualist, like he did with you. He cleared my energy with some of the
Yeah.
trauma I had with my parents. Girl, I had in my shoulder blade on my right side, I've had
Yes.
like a kink forever, right? Like you've slept on it wrong
Yes.
forever. Never get rid of it. Girl, I don't have it anymore.
Oh my God. And then, but what's so amazing about him is that he says, and now you have all the tools. You don't need me to do this. If you want me to do it, I'm happy to. But he's like, my job is successful if you are empowered to unlock this for yourself because I don't want any clients. I want everybody to be able to do this themselves, which is so freaking dope.
Well, it is because I used to do this for an hour thinking it took that long. It took him literally a minute and a half to do this with me.
Yeah.
I know. And, but it opened the door because my dad died a few years back and I did not have contact with him because he was really not good to us. And I didn't have contact with him. But you know what? When he did that and I knew that was the stuff I was carrying in my shoulder blade and my shoulder. And I finally just said, okay. And I think that people are on different levels on the other side.
Yeah.
And let
that
me
makes
explain
sense.
that to the listeners. Yeah. Like you and I pass away, you and I are probably going to be on the same frequency, the same level. I think we're the same person because we think the same dang way on everything. That
It's
I can
scary.
See. I was just going to say that. It's so funny.
It's crazy.
Well, it's amazing. Yeah. And I think there's a reason why you and I connect so well, but, there's different frequencies. And I think that people that are very like the Dahmers and the Hitlers and all that. Now he wasn't quite that evil, but in my mind, he was pretty dang evil.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I finally reached out and I never thought I would do this. And I reached out because I can talk to my mom too. She died. I was taught how to do that, and I can actually talk to my mom. I know you guys are just like, what is she talking
They're thinking, we love Leslie. Oh my God, she's one of us. That's what they're thinking right now.
Well, and I thought I was talking to myself. I really thought I was going insane. And finally one day, and you've heard me say this many times on my podcast, but I'm doing this for your listeners. Finally one day I said, Mom, if you're there, what do you do? Do you have a job? And she said, I'm a greeter. And that started the conversation with my mom. And I was like, what? Okay. So now I can talk to mom and ask her to take me to the healing temple if I decide I just want a little healing or clearing or whatever. So I do that with her a lot. I asked her to be a guide. They will, if you ask them, they'll do anything you want. And so I reached out to my dad, which I never thought I would. And I said, Dad, I have someone on my podcast clear this out. And this is just me talking to him privately, before I'm going to bed or whatever. Husband's next to me sleeping already. And I said, what I want you to do, well, first of all, I said, where are you? And he goes, I'm not where your mother is. And I said, okay.
Oh,
And I said, what is it like? And he goes, well, I'm here to heal. And he goes, I'm in solitary confinement. And
oh,
like, what? Okay. So I know it's getting woo again. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, I said, is there no one around? He goes, I can hear them, and I can hear them screaming and stuff. It's not like, but hear me out. I said, so, because I don't think there's a hell, guys. There's no hell. Okay. But there are frequencies, and he's in a lower frequency for the people that are troubled, that are trying to, because you go here to heal, you work on yourself. Okay. However long it takes. And I said, do you feel the love of Source? And he goes, I always feel the love of Source. Source is all around me, and I always feel the unconditional love of Source. So that's what kind of keeps you going, right? And I said, and I reached out. He goes, the fact that you reached out to me is, and I want to cry. He goes, it's going to help me because I can help you. And I said, okay. And I said, I said, so I want you to go back, and I want you to hug that little girl, and I want you to protect her like a father should have protected her. And I need you to go back and do that for me. And he said, the fact that you've asked me, the fact that you came to me, this is going to get me out of this world.
I know. Oh my God. That is so beautiful.
And
that's recent.
This is literally 2 days ago.
Oh
And
my
he said,
God.
and I said, he goes, and I will, and I said, well, I tell you, I don't mind helping you because I know you're not, when they're on the other side, there's no ego. Okay. There's no ego. The human junk is gone. Okay. He's in spirit now. So that's the only reason I'm talking to him now. If he were alive today, I would not be talking to him, but because he is totally different in spirit, that's why I'm giving him any time of day. And so I said, and he said, the more you ask me, the more you're going to help me, and the more I can help you, and the more we can heal each other. And I swear, Jennifer, that's why one of the things that I had to come here to learn.
I think it was too. And I think that it was like, if people talk about ancestral scars or ancestral wounds. And I think that moment 2 days ago, it gives me goosebumps and I want to cry at the same time.
I know.
Is that it healed some deep ancestral wound, because how many times have these different souls done this, but not gotten there where you guys got to?
Well, and and I'm not saying I'm so cool or anything. It's just one of those things where I don't know I don't know what it is. I just don't want this anymore. I don't want to think about it, relive it. I don't want any of it anymore. And I know he was abused as a child too. So you're right. There's that ancestral thing that hopefully I stopped.
I think you did. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you most certainly did.
Yeah, I definitely stopped it with my own children, of course. But now I've gone to the root of the problem for me at least.
When you did that, I think that you smoothed the path for other people to find the same healing too, because it's like, it's more exhausting to remember the rage and keep that present than it is to like go, okay, let's be done with this forever. So get to the root and pluck that mother out.
Yeah, because my very good friend, Christina Curran, she is my resident psychic medium on my podcast, and I have her on all the time. And we talk about everything, Bigfoot, ghosts, demons, everything, and hollow earth, aliens, everything we can think of, and timelines and time slips and all that. And I told her about this, and she said, she said, Leslie, she goes, you're really brave. And I'm like, no, I don't consider it brave. It's weird how the blue collar spiritualist, I never thought he would make such a huge
Yeah.
impact on me, just getting rid of it. Because you don't understand, I've had that pain in my back forever.
Wow. Leslie.
And when that happened, when that happened, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Do I need to reach out to him? Because I asked my mom first. I said, Mom, and she goes, he's here if you want to talk to
Yeah.
him. She goes, I don't talk to him, but you can. And
Yeah.
she kind of gave me a just go talk to
Yeah.
him. And so that kind of gave me a green light. And then when I talked to him, and it's almost like he was bound down to me. He felt so
Yeah.
bad, like he was doing anything he could to make it up to
Right.
me. And guys, I would never want to talk to him if he were alive right now.
Wow. But
And
but at the same time, it's like, I think that you've said everything in everything you've just shared, which is there is no ego there, but also there is empathy maybe that he didn't even have in this meat suit. And so he would not have come forward first to you because it's like, no, there's a barrier there. I don't deserve that kind of contact. And she has,
good
it's
point.
it's a respect and loving thing. It's an empathetic thing that he stayed back and waited for you to make those first motions to, do you want to initiate healing? And sometimes healing comes forward first with this arsenal energy where you're like, you just have to shout into the wind about the crap that he did to you, made you feel, did to your family. And he was just waiting respectfully there, which shows again, he is evolving, even though he's in this space that's different than your mom. And yeah.
And that's the thing, guys, because there's truly no hell, but you judge yourself. And he put himself there. That's where he put himself. He put himself in solitary confinement. And I don't know if he just was going to stay there. I don't know. There's no time over there. I don't know what he would have done with it. But when I was interviewing that blue collar spiritualist, his name is Pete. I should just say his name is Pete. Yeah, his name is Pete. Pete said, I felt him the whole time we've been talking. I knew a father figure had popped in. And so he must have known we were going to talk about this. And, so when I did decide to just talk to him and say, okay, all right, I'm here. At first I was like, okay, you son of a bitch. What's going I mean, I wasn't happy talking to him. And I'm sorry to say it like that, but, because it was awful. And he said, first of all, I want to say, I was so sick. I was sick. And, and that broke me down a little bit, and that broke my wall down a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I know you.
Yeah.
And then that's when I said, you need to go back and you need to fix it. However you can there. I don't care if it's just a tiny little tweak. I don't care what it is. You need to fix it to where I'm better.
Yeah.
And then he said, the fact that you've come to me, it had to be this way. It couldn't have been any other way because you wouldn't have given me the time of day. The fact that you came to me will help me get out of here, and it will help me grow. And you know what? He deserves it. Guys, everybody deserves redemption. I don't care who they are. They do. We are all a collective. We are all spirit up there, and we all sometimes derail. Maybe we weren't supposed to come down and abuse our kids or kill 1 million people in the Holocaust. Okay. Some people have mental issues, and I'm not excusing this. This is not victim. I promise you, but this has everything to do with giving everybody space. We've all made mistakes, maybe not to that point, but
it's so true.
It's not like God doesn't work that way. He doesn't say, I'm sorry, God, I killed someone. I talked to someone that just talked to me about that. And they said, oh my gosh, I've killed someone. And Source said, it's okay. They're here. They're all right. He said, but I killed someone. He goes, it's fine. They're going to go back. They're fine. You didn't really kill them. You killed them physically. And I thought that seems very bad to say. But then I was like, but this isn't reality. Our reality is with Source, not here. This isn't reality as far as our eternal reality. Well, I know this.
No,
so
it does. Believe me, it doesn't at all. Because I was going to say the two things to just little threads to tuck in is that you were mentioning about there is no hell, but it is our own construct. If you die and you firmly believe that, then you're creating that in your mind. Because my father-in-law, I've been and I shared this on a podcast, like, actually it ends up being today's podcast that we're recording, but I had this dream, and in it, I was in a medical waiting room, and sitting next to me was my father-in-law. And he had on this, dressed as beautifully as he always was in his little brown suit with his button-up shirt and his tie. And I said, gosh, it's nice to see you. I said, you've been waiting here an awful long time. He was waiting for a medical appointment. It was like a doctor's office. And he goes, and I said, how long have you been here? And he said, it's been a long, long time. And I said, would you like me to get you something to eat or drink? And he said, no, but thank you though. And all of a sudden, this orderly type person came up to him, but they were dressed in black, and they started like attacking him and hitting him. And
Oh my
I know.
God.
And I stood between the two of them, and I said, I just screamed, no, no, no. And I said, you can't do that. And I turned to my father-in-law and I said, this is not a good place. Would you like me to walk you home? And he said that'd be very nice. Thank you. And I have tears talking about, because I'd never crossed somebody over, and I didn't even know that's what I was doing till we left. Well, so I woke up and I wrote down in my dream journal this, and that's when it dawned upon me. I think that he's been waiting for 20 years in this purgatory that he created for himself, because he fought for his last year of life. He was in theme of my life, father figure, kidney failure. And but he was in kidney failure, but he fought for that last year of life so that he could take and spend time with each person and go, I know this doesn't make what I did right, but I want to try to apologize from my heart for this and make amends. And he spent that last year of his life doing that. And he's my hero because of that. And in the meantime, he passed away very suddenly. And then he created this purgatory for himself. And for
Wow.
isn't that crazy? And for some reason, he decided, and I feel honored because I always loved him.
Yeah.
And I see the good parts of him in my husband, who's my favorite person that has ever walked the earth. And I'm so lucky.
You sound like we are the same person.
Just
My God.
special and not woo at all, but just the most special earth-based person.
Doesn't believe in any of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same. But
Oh
then
my God.
I have to tell you, so my husband, then had this, this like epiphany. Oh my God, I think I walked him literally home, and he felt safe enough to go, come on in the waiting room with me, but I don't know why you need to come, but I feel like you're open to be here.
Yes.
And then I walked him home. So then I texted, my husband, who was out of town. He was working on a project in California. And I said, I had a dream about your dad. And he goes, you know what, Jen? I had a dream about my dad last night too. And so,
oh my God.
And so it's like and I said, no, but I think that mine was more than that. And he goes, oh, well, my dad was really happy in my dream. And he said, I wish I could remember the details, but we had such a nice visit.
Oh my God.
I know. So it just goes hand in hand with what you were saying. It's a different kind of bookend to what your powerful experience is this week, Leslie. We are doing work in ways and casting ripples that we wouldn't even know.
I'm trying, and it's so funny because you're right. Some of these near-death experiencers, like I had one, and you may have heard her, Kathy. She was a staunch Catholic, and she died and went to hell. But she went to hell in her own thoughts, in her own mind, when she realized she didn't have to be there, because one of her very best friends had died a couple months before, and he greeted her once she started singing like a Christmas song or something, to try to get out of that situation, whatever, because it was always a different situation. And then it was another scene, and it was another bad scene, another bad scene, another hellish scene.
Wow.
And finally, when she started singing something that she really loved, it probably raised her frequency a little bit. And then she saw her friend who had passed and said, see, it was all in your head.
And then she's an author, and I follow her on Instagram after that podcast episode, which people need to go back and listen to that. It was incredible. Listen to all your episodes.
Yes.
But she also said, wasn't she the one that said the door was always open to the next realm? It was never locked. The door from this hellish realm that you had was never, you were always welcome to leave. And all the people there.
This is why, guys, that now listen, I'm not dissing religion. I'm not telling you that, because a lot of people find comfort in it. And I understand that. And I think that's absolutely what you need to do if you find comfort in it. But this is why I'm not religious. she was so indoctrinated that she thought she was going to go to hell because she didn't have her sacrament or she didn't do whatever she did when you're Catholic or
Yeah.
whatever. And I absolutely believe in God, source, Jesus, all of the things. I have a relationship with all of that. I just don't have to go to church to get that. I don't believe in the organization of crowd control and let me take your money and let me tell you the way. Oh no, we're right. No, we're right. No, we're right. And all these different that's my only issue with it. And you can take this out too, Jennifer. You don't
No.
have to leave this in. But I don't want to offend
I
anyone.
don't think it's offensive at all. I think that there's the ideal pieces of religion and then there's spiritual gatekeepers. And that's where I too draw a
True.
line in the sand. And that's how I feel too. I'm like, whatever gives people comfort, no problem. But I agree because my father-in-law, it honest to God relates. It's so spooky because this conversation is so from our higher selves because he had just changed his religion to be Catholic. And clearly when he was going through the steps to become Catholic, he was thinking the entire time on every level, there's nothing I can do to escape hell. But then he did this hard work and he said, okay, fine. When he died, he was like, fine, I'm probably in purgatory though. And that is a Catholic indoctrination. But
Yeah.
it was so real to him that his soul had been there for 20 years waiting for someone to intercede. And when I came in, the other crazy thing was every time I looked over to check on him in the weight room, his sharp looking suit, he was always he's such a handsome man, so well dressed. And I have like cold air swirling around me so I can feel his love right here.
Oh.
But every time I looked over, there was like a little wrinkle or a little tear or a little rumple that wasn't there the last time I looked. So I was watching him in real time and he was noticing, oh my God, I've been here for a long frickin' time. And he hadn't realized and his suit started showing that length of time to me. So it was like, I think that the big thing is maybe that's part of the hospice piece that needs to happen for people, or is like people write living wills and they think about their end days, but maybe they can also kind of back engineer some of that indoctrination and go, can I shed some of that and open up my mind to the fact that I have done the best I can with this soul contract and exit in love, like a karmic car wash, so that we don't have to end up somewhere like a hell realm or a purgatory type experience.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. If you can just, think outside the box. Hey, listen, my son goes to church and he loves it and his wife love it. And I encourage that because they get something out of it and they're not, but they're still open-minded as to, if someone is different than them or someone is a different color than them, whatever it is, that's okay too.
It's just love.
And, it's all about love. That's what, it's kind of like, if I came out to my parents and said I didn't, wasn't the kind of person they thought I was going to be, they wouldn't instantly not love me, right? That's not how God works. So God works at all is welcome. That's what Mary Helen Hensley said, the near-death experiencer. Her dad was a preacher and he had a really bad dad and he was about to die and he was in hospice and they're at the hospital and he was about to die, but he rallied just for a few minutes and said, "Oh my God, my dad's here." And she said, "Oh, well, what's he saying?" And her dad said, "All are welcome. All are welcome."
Oh, that's a perfect way to hit this, to mention that we hit the top of the hour because all are welcome. And we send love to everybody. And I am just so grateful you spent time here sharing this incredible conversation. I love you so much, Leslie. We have to point people. Where can they reach you? We didn't even talk about your amazing TikTok. So tell them where to find you so that they can follow you're doing interior design, creative stuff and your books and all that.
I am not a one-trick pony apparently, but I started my TikTok for my podcast and my books, but I also have always loved interior design. And so when I redid my formal living room, because we just weren't using it, I redid it and put some lounge chairs and a big circle kind of coffee table in it, and it just went crazy. So now I have a ton of people on TikTok that watch that. So if you find me on TikTok and you see home decor, don't get confused. I also do that too, right? So, but I'm on TikTok under author Leslie Fear. And on Instagram, just under Leslie Fear. I have a Facebook group, Because I Want to Know. That's the name of the podcast. And I'm also on, I'm on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm sure Jennifer will put all the links in the show notes for me, like I do for the people that I have on my podcast.
I promise to. And thanks for stopping by. And just, you have to promise me you'll come back.
Oh, I could talk to you forever.
That's how I feel too. I'm like, we'll just put on a pair of adult Depends and
great time. And I appreciate you so much for giving me your time and letting me talk to you about just what happened recently. That was so profound. Still processing it, but if nothing else, everybody just give everyone in your life, regardless, just give everybody a little grace. I think this world would be a little bit better.
Grace is the word. Give everybody grace and know that they're going through some stuff. They just may be better at stuffing that crap down and being fake happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, much love to you. And I hope I already am looking forward to the next time we get to talk.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. I need to have you on my podcast too.
That sounds great. That's a date. Okay, we'll talk soon. Thank you again. Thank you for listening to Curious Cat. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite listening app. And if you love the content, recommend us to a friend. Until next time, stay curious. I love you.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Are you looking for a new podcast that appeals to your scientific curiosity, but is also a little bit spooky?
Show me how I died in a past life.
Well, look no further, because this cat is where it's at.
He had concerns about the ethics surrounding AI, feeling they had achieved consciousness.
Curious Cat Podcast examines the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. Listen every week with your host, Jennifer Holtz, as she and her guests explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit.
We were healing karma together. They were all kind of predestined to resolve something.
Listen on all your favorite streaming apps and continue the conversation on Twitter at CuriousCatPodCA, or find Jennifer and all her links at Jennifer L. Holtz, spelled HOTES.com.